Hey everyone, Keith here from Circles in Space. Wanted to give you a quick walkthrough of my zine that I put out recently, which you can find at my Substack, kwalpole.substack.com. The zine is about some of the themes behind the newsletter. I wanted a way to put together some of the ideas and information and helpful tips that I've found useful throughout the last couple of years of doing the zine, and I wanted to give the subscribers sort of a gift to say thank you for all your support over the last 3 years. First off, what is a zine? A zine is usually a self-published book or magazine. It could be art, photos, fiction, really anything that you want to put together in a little booklet. So let's take a look at some of the influences behind the zine, and then we'll walk through the zine. First off, I always carry a pocket notebook or a field notes with me. So those are definitely a big influence. Let's go with the field notes. So I have a few different types here, just the basic one, and then this is the expedition version. I love that they include sort of your contact info on the first page. This field notes memo book is property of, and then it has pertinent coordinates, info for your internal records, and then at the back they have a list of practical applications: financial planning, escape routes, topographic studies, all that sort of fun stuff. So that was how I first envisioned the zine, was just something like this that you could fit in the field notes and you could carry it in your pocket. It just has all sorts of handy information for your creative projects. A few other handbooks and manuals here. I have a master tree finder, a fern finder, which just give you very simple diagrams with numbers about how to identify the ferns and trees. Those aren't really zines, but I think they're really handy. This one, a field guide and handbook to the High Line, I found at the Whitney Museum, and this is really helpful information about the High Line, the animals and plants you can find on the High Line, maps, just really useful information in a small package about the New York City High Line. Similar to that, I found this one, the Pole Climber's Pocket Guidebook, in my grandpa's old stuff. He used to work for a telephone company, and I guess they distributed this. It has photos and information about how to properly climb a telephone pole, how to have good balance, how to use an effective leg stroke. Yeah, this one is really fun. How to descend. All right, moving now to some of Tom Sax's notebooks. So he distributes notebooks, which you could buy on his website, but also he puts out a zine for each project he's involved with. These notebooks, one is for the space program and one is for 10 bullets. I like how this one has Tom's handwriting in the beginning, and then at the back he has all sorts of useful reference material and required reading. In the space program, you'll find some of the same stuff. Here's a little motto at the end. Some more reference material and some more useful information, useful acronyms, useful phrases, and the NATO phonetic alphabet. So I guess if you're going to space, or at least if you're going to space with Tom Sachs, these are required materials and viewing for space flight. All right, so now let's take a look at the zine. I started working on it about a year ago, just taking little bits and pieces and throwing it into a folder, and then over the past couple weeks trying to put it together into a package. I just designed it on canva.com. That just seemed the easiest, simplest way. I wanted to do it with a typewriter. I just didn't have time, and I wanted to get it out for the 3-year anniversary. Borrowing from Field Notes and the Moleskines and the Tom Sachs notebooks, you got to have a place to put your name and your contact info, and you have a chance to let the person who finds it, let them know that there is a reward if they return it to you. If I lost one of my notebooks, I would really want somebody to give it back to me, because there could be some great stuff in there that I wouldn't want to lose. As I said earlier, the zine's dedicated to the Circles in Space community, and as a thank you for reading and supporting the newsletter over the past 3 years. All right, so the contents. What's in the zine? We have essentials, we have inspiration, prompts, information, and a place for your notes. Going to the next page, this sort of just lays out the purpose of the zine. Just a note that it's not exhaustive or exclusive. I have an acknowledgement to Tom Sachs, Van Neistat, Austin Kleon, and Field Notes. Also, I didn't mention Austin's stuff before, but if you go to his Substack, he's got a lot of zines on creativity and writing, and just really cool. And they're very small, and you could print them out and make them yourself. So this is the idea behind Circles in Space, the theme that I try to embody. Just in my own work, in my own life, I always find that I work in a sort of a cyclical pattern. It's rarely from A to B. I always end up visiting things and sort of forgetting about it, and then maybe revisiting. And that goes for pretty much everything: books, writing, movies, music. You hear a song and it doesn't really connect with you maybe at the moment, but then you hear it at a later time and it really connects, and it's just because at that point in time and space you were ready to receive that message. And that's sort of the idea behind Circles in Space. Essentials, again, this is borrowing from Tom Sachs, required viewing. I just wanted to write down some novels that were inspirational for me and really inform my work and the newsletter. And a lot of these I've mentioned in the newsletter, or I've written posts about. Listening, just some music to check out, some of my favorite music we've discussed on the newsletter, some essential viewing. Inspiration for our creative practice. I guess it was in 2021, I had a chance to see artist Ronnie Horn's exhibit Log at Hauser and Wirth in New York City. It was a giant gallery space, and along each of the 3 or 4 walls, there was 400 pages, as you can see here, of photos, drawings, notes, writing. Ronnie, for 14 months, just concentrated on doing one 8.5 by 11 sheet of work each day, and it was really inspiring to see that one piece of paper that you work on one day at a time, then you could put them in a gallery space and see them all together and say, this is 14 months of work. And I just thought that was really useful and inspiring for just keeping up with your creative practice, doing something every day, and by the end of a week, a month, a year, you have something to show for it. David Lynch, from Catching the Big Fish: it's crucial to have a setup so that at any given moment when you get an idea, you have the place and the tools to make it happen. You got to have a space, somewhere to do your creative practice, somewhere where you can explore ideas. You have all the tools you need, everything's set up, and you could just sit down and start creating. Again, Van Neistat, big influence on me, super organized. I guess that comes from working with artists like Tom Sachs, and I had to learn this stuff from Van and on my own. I never worked in a studio, so when I was getting Circles in Space HQ set up here, I had to learn these things. Don't stack stuff. put your equipment in a little kit. Use binder, clips, rubber bands to keep stuff organized, shelves. This is just really simple, practical information to staying organized, and that's an important part of the creative practice, I think. Joan Didion. The point of my keeping a notebook has never been, nor is it now, to have an accurate, factual record of what I have been doing or thinking, how it felt to me. That is getting closer to the truth about a notebook. The most important tool to me, as I mentioned earlier, I have a bunch of notebooks, for different projects or different purposes. I always keep one with me. And everything starts with a notebook. You have an idea, you write it down, explore it, you work on it, and eventually it turns into a blog post or a zine or a video. Ernest Hemingway said, the first draft of anything is shit. Like Anne Lamott says in Bird by Bird, you have to get out the shitty first draft. You just get it out and then revise it and make it better. But it has to come out. And that's something I always try to keep in mind. Prompts. All right, so this was, if you've ever seen some of Austin Kleon's stuff, or just writing prompts or journals, I see these everywhere, and I thought it would just be cool to write some prompts to, jumpstart your creativity or just get you thinking and working. Write down something you need to remember. Use your notes to learn, observe, think, practice, and create. Make a journal entry. 5 bullets on any subject. Animals, plants, and tree species. Brainstorm your next creative project. Take a walk around your neighborhood. And then these pages are just for your notes. And maybe I'll get some of these printed up, and if anyone wants one, maybe I could send it to you. I think it'd be really cool to have this in a physical form instead of just a PDF that you can print. All right, so this is the last section of the zine. Information. This is just some useful information that I've learned about or that I like to include in my notebooks. Again, from the Tom Sachs notebooks, the NATO phonetic alphabet. I always write it in my notebooks. I don't know, you never know when you're going to need something like this. Morse code. I know we're not really using Morse code, but I think it's probably helpful to know. And once I started reading about Morse code and the telegraph for the newsletter, fun stuff to dive into. American Sign Language Deaf Manual Alphabet. All right, this is a fun little New York City tidbit. If you're ever lost in Central Park, find a lamppost, look at the numbers, and they will tell you where you are located. So on this lamppost, the numbers are 6220. The first 2 numbers correspond to the nearest cross street. The middle 2 numbers correspond to how close you are to the center of the park. And the last 2 numbers, if they're odd, it means you're on the west side, and if they're even, it means you're on the east side. Maybe that'll help you out if you're ever lost in Central Park. I had to throw some New York City information in there if you're familiar with the newsletter. All right, we've reached the end of the zine. Thank you for watching. I hope you get some use out of it. If you print it out and you're using it, you're writing in it, share it with us, and I'd love to see how you're using it. Also, if you have any ideas about zines you might want to see in the future, let me know. I'm already working on a few ideas, and I hope this helps you with your creative process. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.